skills when it comes to job searching, but most importantly, I work with different institutes in advising them in how to manage their talent and also how to manage the performance of their talent. So today, as you saw from the poster, we're going to be looking at two things. So very simple, how you create your CV, what are the aspects that you need to look at when you're creating your CV. We are going to have 2 breakout sessions where we will deliberate, try and understand what are these mistakes we do, what are the things we assume sometimes that should be on a CV and shouldn't be. And then from there, we'll go and understand also how we're going to build up a CV and in the right manner. So allow me to share the screen. This way we'll be able to just start the presentation. You can write in the chat where you're connecting from, just to understand the different aspects of areas that have been represented. And kindly, if I may ask, I will have to switch off your camera. That way the focus will be on the presentation. Thank you all for joining in, and I hope you learn. If you do have your CV next to you as you're doing this, kindly look into it, because then that is what you're going to use as a guide to ensure that you do not miss out on some of the aspects we're going to discuss. We are recording this session to allow you to be able to review it in our YouTube channel, and at the same time for you to be able to go back and understand what you need to improve on. So very simple. I would want to understand from all of you, and you can just post in the chat, what social media platform do you use mostly or most? And another thing, do you have a LinkedIn profile? So you can put in your answer, and there's a reason behind it. When you're thinking about your CV and you're thinking about your LinkedIn, it all starts from the social media platforms, because at the end of the day, there are aspects in your CV that will require you to represent the social media platforms that you're in. And also, if you already have a LinkedIn profile, to be good for us to know, so that we see how we can assist you in terms of getting to have a better profile than currently what you have. Okay, I waiting to see the answers. Everyone can participate. I believe you're able to just write. So for me, the one that I'm always in, it's always LinkedIn, essentially because it's a professional platform, and also I get to learn a lot of things from it. So at the end, I would averagely spend around 3 to 4 hours in LinkedIn, either learning or either networking with different people. So I'll move to the next slide. So ideally, when you're thinking about LinkedIn, what you need to understand is the capacity it holds. Right now, currently, as per the market and what research has been done, we have more than 738 million people who are in LinkedIn. And why I'm insisting on understanding if you have a LinkedIn profile is because any person that is looking for work or is looking for business would actually have a LinkedIn profile by now, especially in the current times that you live in. So it goes ahead to state that when you're thinking about the social network in terms of the sites and other things, and how we have grown in terms of the numbers from when LinkedIn started to where we are right now, it has increasingly increased. However, what you will get to learn is in Kenya, we do not have so many people who are on LinkedIn. Why? Those are some of the things that we'll come to find out in this session. And also you'll get to understand the kind of thinking people have when it comes to having a LinkedIn profile. So currently we have 2.8 users in Kenya who have a LinkedIn profile. When you're thinking about the user age bracket is between 25 and 34. If you're able to mention your age, feel free to put a bracket if you're between the age of 25 and 34. You can use one of the icons, which would be able to help you understand or to help us understand the kind of age bracket you have. And why is it between 25 and 34? That is the beginning of the career stage. Every person who's trying to step in or get into any professional life, they're looking to network. And since LinkedIn came in and was launched, everybody has been thinking, how do I network? How do I grow my numbers and ensure that I'm able to connect with like-minded people, but at the same time, I'm able to connect with the right person who will be able to help me improve on my career trajectory in terms of growth, but most importantly, what can I learn from that person and what can they learn from me? Now, I had asked about the social media platforms. Now, this is the reason. I'm thinking about how many people, as I can see, quite a number had mentioned they're in Twitter, mostly WhatsApp. Others are saying they are in Instagram. Now think about this. When somebody is on Instagram and you're thinking about your professional life, how is it helping you? Right now we have 2.6 in Instagram, very active. I mean, I'm also on Instagram. What is it helping me when I'm thinking about my career? And then you look at the numbers that are Facebook. We have 12 million. Now, if you translate the 12 million, again, all platforms within the age bracket that I have mentioned, between 26, between 25 and 34, the numbers are high. Now, interesting enough, for Instagram, of course, pushes a little bit more on the side of 18 being a little bit high. But why? Because one thing is for sure, everybody is looking to connect to someone. Everybody is looking to be identified in a certain brand. It might be that you prefer Instagram because you don't have to write a lot of things and you post and the photo talks for itself. They prefer Facebook because either you're as old as me or you just want to connect with friends who are not around. But most important thing is everybody's a social media platform and they're continuously learning from it, whether it's socially, whether it's financially, whether it's professionally, you're learning from it. What you need to know or you need to understand is anything you do, anything. And when I talk about anything, I look at it this way. If I am in Instagram, who am I following? Are they impactful to my life? So we're going to focus now on the CV and the profiles on LinkedIn. And you will now connect back as to why these two, in terms of the platforms that you use, that it's important for you to connect to it. So I'll open the first breakout room because I need us to ask ourselves a very basic question, which is as simple as, what do you think should be on a CV? Identify somebody who's going to lead, because also I'm expecting you to just practice how to communicate directly in front of people, which is really important because that's another aspect when it comes to interview preparation. And then secondly, we're going to look at how you're going to Hi, Kia. You've asked for help. I'm in your room 3. How can I assist? Room 3. Silas. Martha. Martha, are you able to unmute? Martha? Room
Hi.
3. Hi.
Yeah,
You're supposed to discuss what is supposed to be in the CV. So the sooner you discuss, the easier it is for you to go back to the other main session because everyone else is discussing in their groups. It's only you guys I'm hearing you not discussing. So just team up and then talk, whether right or wrong, then we get back to the main session. So allow me to go to the other session so that I follow through on the rest.
okay.
Hi. This group, have you discussed about what should be the CV? We're about to close the breakout rooms. So if you've just joined us, Galaxy J4, sorry, we'll have to stop your video. Everyone else is coming back from the breakout rooms. There are some who were not able to discuss, but we'll just get ahead and go through the presentation so that you understand. If you can't hear me clearly, please just either use a reaction or raise your hand, and then we'll go ahead. Okay, so I'll go on. So a few highlights on basically where CVs originated and what ideally people always get confused on, either you call it a CV or a resume. So currently what is the fad or what everybody is calling the document is a resume. And the most important thing is just to distinguish, and then we get to the small nitty-gritty details. So on average, looking at just the overview in the world, you'll get 300 million people who are not able to have the jobs they've posted filled up, and will always have a high percentage of unemployment. But what we're looking at is when people do apply for a role, what happens? As a HR professional, I'll tell you for sure, there are certain aspects that would automatically make somebody not or feel like they would want to hire you, and that is just by the glance and the look of your resume. And what usually happens is every person has their own version of the right candidate they would have. So the right candidate would either have a really compelling CV or automatically would have a really compelling email that identifies them for who they are. But the challenge is nowadays, especially with the young generation, you'll always find interesting unprofessional emails where either they were opened in a rush or they were not so sure of what they were opening and somebody else opened for them. Another thing is when you're looking at a CV is intended to be a full record of your career history. So you're looking at whatever you've ever done in terms of any positions that you have carried on that you'd indicate in it. Also, it's supposed to be the actual prepared document that is used currently in East Africa. However, most of the time we find ourselves people opting to use the resume. Now, most often, and this is something that tends to happen, when somebody shares their resume, it is supposed to be tailor-made for that particular role. And when I say tailor-made, it means if you apply for a particular role, you focus on that role completely, and therefore it would not be your CV that you're sharing. So how do we get to do that? So we will identify, and you can go through some of the things that you have put in as the assumed things that should be on a resume. I can see, Kepa, you have raised your hand. You can talk. Kepa? Kepa, either talk or just chat if you're not able, because I can see you've raised your hand. I'm not sure how I'm going to assist you. So as I was mentioning, you need to identify what needs to be on a resume. So the most critical things, and you should be very conscious that should be there, it should be your contact information. There should be a summary. So a resume summary of what ideal person you're trying to sell out, not what you're hoping to achieve in the organization, because that's another contradictory thing that everybody does. And then you move ahead and you indicate your experience. Now it's critical you follow it up in this sequence because there's a way each and every one of us looks at the resume, and it's important for it to be automatically clear, precise, and straight to the point. Not that somebody should start looking for some of the information. Then after experience, there should be education, awards, certification, if you have any, and then hobbies and interests. Now, I will mention something on number 6 before I get to the 3 main aspects when you're looking at your resume. And why I'm going to mention number 6 is because I have seen a need to have it mentioned because we all get lost. So when somebody indicates that they have hobbies and interests, somebody says they like traveling, they like reading books, they like cooking, all those aspects. But if you're asked, when was the last time you read a book? Who wrote that book? What did you learn from the book? If you travel, when was the last place you traveled? If you really enjoy cooking, what is this, meal that you have cooked of late? Remember, any aspect you put on your resume would be judged against you. And somebody would want to hear some form of feedback that works for them and not the other way around that works for you. So think about it. Just because you say you like traveling, it doesn't mean that it would resonate well with the other person. So again, the question is, what do you have in your resume and how is it assisting you in getting that role that you're applying for? Okay. Think about that because sometimes we get lost into it and we assume a lot. So in a brief, your resume should be conscious and clear to understand, yet it needs to include all the important information the recruiter looks for. So looking at it this way, it is not the information you think should be there, the information the recruiter has asked in the JD or in the profile or in the job that has been posted. So you need to think about that as you apply for any role. So when we're talking about aspects of summary, what do we mean? We mean that the summary goes at the top. It means it should make perfect sense for the role you're applying for. Well, it's not obligatory to have a resume summary. It is necessary to include one if you really want the job, because you want the HR professional or the hiring manager to get a summary of who you are, what your aspirations are, what you care about, even before they get to any of the experience. You may miss out on the experience, but in your summary, it will be very, very clear on the kind of person you are, on the kind of work you've done, and what you're passionate in doing. And it would answer some of the questions they're looking for. Another thing is on the experience. Now, the experience really matters, but sometimes you might need to eliminate some of the experience that you have to ensure that you have the correct experience put in place for the right role that you are trying to apply for. So how is it critical for this? It needs to have the core. You need to have to make sure that any recruiter is able to measure what you're supposed to have achieved in that previous or past role. They should be able to see how you connect with teams. They should be able to understand if you're applying for a strategic role or an operation role, how does it come into play that you are able to carry out the role. Do not write what you were paid to do. Do not write I handle filing. No, that doesn't connect well. The recruiter would be looking at simultaneously able to handle personal data for the organization and prearranged and recorded information as expected. You need to really change the angle of how you present the work that you're supposed to be doing. Then on the other part is on education. Now, unless whatever you have studied is important in regards to the role you're pulling, you may find that there's some that you may not require to put in. So for instance, between last year to this year, we have had a huge number of trainings that are being taken online. Your question mark should be, how am I going to present some of these trainings that I have been attending? What is relevant? What should not be there? Which trainings are applicable for this role? It all depends on the job description that has been posted and the requirements. So be very sure that unless you're applying for academic roles, assuming that somebody here is on that path, it needs to be very precise to a point that whatever you have studied, you broke it down into the modules that you have studied. Now, an interesting aspect about education, you will find that in as much as now you may not mention all the modules that you have done, maybe for the last 3 semesters, the thing is this, 4 semesters, the thing is this. When you grow and you continue to improve and master your area of expertise and you become a consultant, those modules are really important because they break down up to a point of somebody understanding where you started off, your mastery of that particular subject. And even to a point that for the project you did, either for your undergraduate or master's, it would be important to mention that up to your PhD. As a consultant, you're expected to mention it all in all aspects so that somebody sees the chronological events of how you went building up to your mastery. Now, when you're thinking about your CV, now you're applying for a role, it's really, really important to think about something that not so many people think about, and that's the summary. So the summary is very simple. It is just a short paragraph explaining your professional experience and goals. Your summary should answer only 2 simple questions. So the first question is, of course, your experience and what you care about. I've seen quite a number of people right now adding in their summary the SGD goals and picking on particular goals that they're very passionate about. Now, I can see some questions are being asked, and the Christabel, I'll come back to that. The most critical thing is this. If you're able to mention your focus area, that person will be able to connect and understand, if you're given this role, that those particular things beyond your role you'll be able to carry out passionately without any issues. Then there is the other place. You might need to showcase particular aspects of your previous experience, ensuring that it captures the right things. So for instance, you need to understand and connect your company research for where you're applying for to be able to be included in the summary. If their interest is in a particular area or their interest is in a particular SGD goal, it would be important to emphasize on that. Now, I'm being asked if the presentation will be shared with you. Yes, we're in our mailing list, so you'll be able to get a recording of the same and you'll be able to get a summary of the same. Then what of skills and competency section? I will get to that. Now, every CV has its own preference. There are two things. If you're going to have a summary of your resume, then it's important not to have your skill or competency section. Why? Think about it. It's a one page. That's the first page. That is the landing page for anyone who's joining in and looking at your resume. So what do they expect to see? They expect to see your name. They expect to see your credentials, if it's your LinkedIn link and all those things. However, after that, they would expect to see either a summary or a list of your competencies or area of expertise. When you have a combination of the two, it means two things. Your first page will be halfway through summary, competencies, then your education, and most probably your experience might fall out to the next. Because assuming you have four aspects in your education, that would be either you have done a professional course, you have done your undergraduate, and I'm assuming, let's assume you have done your master's. Those are almost, I would say almost an eighth or almost a fifth of the page would capture it. Now, why am I trying to equate the page and what should be there? You want whoever is going to look at your resume to review it as fast as possible, because as you've seen in the previous slides, that somebody always takes less than a minute to assume that they already know you and know your capabilities. So what would be the expectation and what would be the assumed role? So a few highlights will be mentioned on it. Now, looking at some of the things that you should avoid having in your summary, we'll get to it. But the most critical thing I would need to ask as we get to our second breakout room, and this is critical, is have you ever had to review your CV either as a group, or have you ever had to give your CV as it to be revamped or to be reviewed by someone else? If you have, please share your discussion points together, because I would want us to look at the next phase, which is really critical on how to write the experience and other things. So I'll open the rooms, and this time kindly participate. Without participation, it really doesn't help you at all. So let me just open them now. are you discussing in this group? Because I'm just listening in other groups they're discussing. And if you have not joined a group, please do. You have already been assigned.
Oriented. Yes, and also I think you should highlight your major achievements. If you're a graduate with a maybe a bachelor's degree in something in commerce or something.
Benson, are you guys discussing in this group? I can't hear you, Benson, clearly. I'm saying, are you guys discussing in this group? Because everyone else is discussing. Because that way you get to hear the different aspects of what happens on someone's CV, but also you get to learn how and what is right.
Yes, we are discussing.
Okay. Let me mute Hannah. You can continue. Let me go to the other rooms because we are about to get back to the main session. And then we'll be able to review it together.
One volunteer.
Are you guys
Someone-
discussing?
Yes, we are discussing.
Okay, that's fine. Continue. We
Okay.
have another 5
At times,
minutes.
okay. At times you give someone to edit for you your CV, then he uses a format that you can no longer use, or you cannot edit further. So I don't know if we can just be using this normal Word document to write our CVs, unlike these other templates that are maybe difficult to edit whenever you have to apply another job somewhere. Yeah.
Let me cut in and answer that quickly. Dembo, there are 2 ways you can edit your CV without losing, and I understand because I also edit for people. So when you type on your computer or even on your phone, Adobe PDF to Word, which is usually easy, you are able to change your PDF document that has been upgraded or revamped, and then it allows you to be able to get a Word document, which helps you build up to have a document you can utilize. Okay, so it is always important when you're getting anyone to revamp, because you've paid, ask them for 2 types of documents, a PDF and also ask them for a Word document. Always insist on that. If somebody doesn't give you that, I don't think they're doing a good job. That to me is the most important. Jacqueline, you can continue.
Okay, I was saying, sometimes when there are some employers who will ask you to send your CV in PDF form, and what I've always done, I always have like one Word document CV, then I edit it according to the JD for the job that I'm applying for, then I can change it to PDF, but then I return a copy for Word document that you can always play around with. Yeah, so that is what I was suggesting for him. Always before you convert to PDF, always keep a Word document for yourself.
Yes, I actually agree with Jacqueline on every statement she has mentioned, because remember, you are the one who knows yourself best. The person who's editing for you or revamping your CV only does that for a specific role, by the way. If somebody tells you, you can just give me and I'll fix your CV and you can use it for countless of jobs, that's a lie. One thing is important is you should have your master copy, which has everything. And then automatically, remember the things that are changing actually are not your roles. The things that are changing are the objectives and your achievements, the way it has been written. That's the wording that is changing. So then you're able to pick that, take it back to your master, as Jacqueline is mentioning. And then when something changes, because things will change, you'll get a new role, you will go and, do another course, you will go live in another country. Then you have your master edit file, which you change. Okay, you can continue the discussion. How is discussion going on, Elizabeth? Elizabeth, how is the session on this side? Because everyone else is having a very interactive session. How is it on this side? Anyone who needs an assistance in understanding anything? Okay. We're getting back to the main session in the next 2 minutes. Let me just help you through and make you understand what the rest are discussing. So a few highlights that have been mentioned is when you get to pay somebody to review your CV and then they give you the CV back, but in PDF. So the challenge with that is they're saying is, one, they're not able to edit it back when they want to change a few things, especially when their careers change or their next position is in a different place. So they're stuck with something they cannot choose. So what one of the members has advised them is you should always have your master file. And then from your master file, you make copies and you indicate this one is for this industry. So I was edited for in this industry. So I go building it up based on that industry. But the most critical thing is you should always have one master copy. Another thing we've mentioned is if somebody edits or revamps your CV, they should always give you 2 types of file, which is a Word document and then a PDF. That enables you to build yourself up as you continue, because remember, it is not every day you're going to keep paying for the CV to be reviewed, yet at the end of the day, you people stay in roles for 1 year. So every year you can't keep changing. Okay, if you stay in a role even for 3 years, you can't keep changing. Then you should be able to know how to pick some of these tactics on how to edit it yourself, unless you're very busy and you feel this is one job I really need support and I really need to ace up, then making sure that the document is accurate and well done. So it's upon you to make sure it's clear and precise. So without any further ado, if you do not have any other discussions, we'll be going back to the room in a minute. So sorry to cut you short in any discussion that was going on. I would want us to get to the next part because that's where we may spend a little bit of more time. And I'll allow people to do question and answer because that's the most critical part when it comes to your CV and how to make sure that you get it right. So a few highlights when you're thinking about your CV. At the end of the day, remember, as I mentioned before, that you're going to be questioned or you're going to be asked questions based on what you posted. So we already went through the summary, and also I had mentioned a bit on some of the things that are do's and don'ts. So for instance, you should never indicate in your CV, I have experience in hospitality, which I'd like to advance and develop at your company. You should never indicate that. Remember, the most critical thing, and this is you trying to sell your skills, not you coming into admittance that you really are desperate to join the organization. That you'll make very clear during the interview. What they read is important and should be separated from how you present yourself during the interview. What they should see is a concierge with four plus years of experience in luxury hotels, highly sociable, detail-oriented and patient. I am proficient at fostering lasting relationships with guests, working with a Medis or the system that you know, okay? And have a BA in hospitality or have a BA in whatever area. The thing is this, the first section just indicated your interest to work with the organization, which wouldn't really help or build up to anything. But when you think about what people are looking for candidates or employees who are solution oriented. This person has already answered a question that might be automatic or might be a need for the organization. Okay, so that means what? They have shown they're able to foster lasting relationships with the clients. Also, they have some experience in systems. So think about some of the JDs that you have come across. They always indicate a certain requirement. What is that requirement? How does it come to connect to your experience and how you'll be able to build up yourself? Somebody is asking how long a CV can be. Now it varies. I'll tell you for sure, by the time you're having a CV that has 4 pages, you need to have written really interesting things. You need to have worked in really interesting places in the sense that they all connect back to the role you're applying for. Okay, so why am I saying interesting and connecting back to the role you're applying for? So let's assume, and you'll see a slide on it, let's assume that you're applying for finance. And prior to your finance working experience, you worked in as a marketer. And as you're working as a marketer, at that particular time, you are promoting things and you are able to reach at a level of merchandising and everything. And you had a string of jobs for around, I would say, 3 years in marketing. Then later on, you evolved and built your finance career where you worked in 2 or 3 different industries for 6 years. So the 2-3 different industries spanned 6 years, meaning each industry you worked for 2 years. Now, when it comes to you posting or comes to you reviewing your CV for that particular finance role, based on the fact that you have been asked that we are looking for somebody who has at least 5 years experience, automatically you will not put the marketing because it will not build up. It will be under additional experience, but it will not be in your main experience because the person is looking for somebody who has a finance background in terms of working experience. Not only are they looking for just somebody who has education in finance, but also their finance background. So then when it comes to the number of pages, it has to be relevant. Okay. Then somebody mentions that they shared the CV with someone to review. He revamped it for me. I found it better than the one I had. I agree. Once you get a proper person to review it, then it makes sense and you actually build up yourself. Before, somebody had asked, I reviewed my CV after an attachment to add new skills and experience. Now, let me tell you, you review your CV every time you apply for a new role. It's as simple as that. It needs to be tailor-made. If it's not tailor-made, you're not going to answer all the questions, okay, that the hiring manager or the HR manager is looking for. So this is the main part of your resume or CV, and it's really critical you get it right, and that's on experience. Now, when you're looking at experience for any CV you've ever come across, or even yours, think about this. What does it connect the role the person is applying to, the experience that they have? How is it measurable? Are we able to measure what they did? Or is it just storytelling? Because remember, you can write a lot and you can say a lot, but at the end of the day, if it's a lot of storytelling, it may not get you anywhere. So while the experience section should be detailed, as I mentioned, and long than the rest of your resume, it should not be too long. For the jobs, when you have had great achievements, do up to 6 or 10 bullets points. Otherwise, 3 to 6 is fine. 6 to 10 bullets have to reflect a form of achievement that you've gotten, a form of measure, a form of teamwork, and also overall, either you are supervising a team or you are able to manage a project or something else. Now, the most critical thing, and I keep repeating when it comes to experience, do not copy paste the JD. Do not copy paste the job that you're trying to apply and then you try and transfer it. It won't work. Do not copy paste your current role, because the most critical thing is if you're not able to indicate how you are able to deliver and achieve some of these things, it will be seen and it will be known during the interview. So what you would need to ask yourself is, then how do I get it right? So I've put an example, which is quite simple. The example just states very simple, what you shouldn't and how you should. So over here, it states, successfully worked under minimal supervision and on specific roles. Now, this person is trying to communicate two things, which is not clear. But most importantly, remember, halfway through, somebody won't give you a chance to get it right during the interview. They'll only give you a chance to get it right in getting your CV correct. And eventually, you would need to answer some questions on your own. So the right way, or the correct way of posting this should be, works primarily under supervision, but prioritized work stack and adapts to changing priority. Kindly mute yourself. Anastasia, let me just mute you. So I'll repeat again, works primarily under supervision, but prioritizes work stack and adapts to changing priority, responsible for personal output with autonomy to plan and execute own work. Specialist role will work with high level of authority, only seeking appropriate support where necessary. So this person has been able to emphasize the fact that they're able to focus on a particular role, they're able to be supervised, and they're able to actually prioritize their work as they do it. Now, the most critical thing when you're trying to get it right in a particular role that you're applying for, remember, do not overstate what you can do, because sometimes we overstate and we claim we can work long hours and all those things, and you get employers who enjoy to see such things and they'll take full advantage. But be real, be precise, that if you're able to apply it, it would reflect to what is expected. Now, I would want us to skip this breakout session because we've already had the other one. And I want to hear just from you. If I have any person who has any question in regards to the experience, I would really want to emphasize more on this before we move, because I want us to move to LinkedIn profile, which is quite simple. However, it would be really important for you to get right here before we move to the next session. Kefa, previously you had a question. I don't know if you want to ask now, so that as we continue, we cover all aspects. Anyone who has any question, please, you can raise your hand or even you can type it, and then I'll be able to answer it. If you have any queries or any feedback you've gotten also about your CV, this would be the right time to just bring it out so that we're able to discuss and help you out. Silas, yes, I do have a good sample CV that I can share with you. Now, the biggest question would be which industry, because then it would vary, because it's really, really, really important to get it right on the industry. And I'll share with you on email, because I believe that if I share now, somebody will ask for it to be on email as a reference point. So it's important I give you that. Referees, there are two aspects about referees. You're able to indicate the request for them. However, unless a role has indicated, you indicate the referees. For me, referees, it's a simple discussion. You're supposed to have 3 people who know you, have worked with you, and most importantly, do not put any person who is in academics if they don't know you personally. Don't put your lecturer who has been teaching, especially like now online, they teach so many people, and then assume they can, vouch for you on a personal level. Like, yeah, he was a good student, above average. That's what everybody says. So think about the reference in terms of selection, and let it be somebody you're interacting with on a continuous basis. For me, for references, I always say put a mentor. Put somebody who has walked through with you, understands your work, has helped you in building you up, and wants to see you grow. Okay? Christabel, you have mentioned, you just said we should not copy paste. Yet I have heard of the ATS system that HR use, meaning the certain roles that or skills need from a candidate. What do we do? Let me explain this. And you're right about the ATS. So how does ATS work? Because these are automated systems which are tracking, okay, your skills. It means, and get me right, because I mentioned before, you will require to tailor-make your resume for any role you apply for, because you will need to know what is the most critical skill that is required. And it's very simple. Halfway through the time, and I'll show you, I'll share a link on how you can get to know let me just indicate that. I'll share the link that helps you know how to figure out what is a skill that is required. And then we also have the free ATS platforms that you're able to get, though they always just give you 50%. So you also need to be careful on that. And then after that, there's somebody asking, so essentially how many pages maximum for resume and CV? I'll tell you maximum 4, assuming you've worked for at least a longer duration of time. Preferably, I would work with 3, okay? 3 is assuming a lot of things, assuming you have had 3 roles or 5 roles and they're relevant to the job you're applying. And also assuming you've put a summary, and if you want to put the skill section also and competencies, you've put that, it will come to 3. However, if you have nothing to write in the resume, meaning you don't have all that experience, do not. Work with your 2 pages or even 1 page, and it will still get your job. Remember, it is how you present your skills that will sell you out. It is not in the number of pages. So I hope I've answered that. In education sector, okay, Silas, you've indicated in education sector. Okay, I'll send you an education sector. So assuming it will be, for everyone. Then, oh no, I will not break it down. The CVs are countless. So if it's an education sector, it can be a senior lecturer, it can be a junior lecturer. So I'm going to get 1. I'll give you the pointers, then it will guide you through. If somebody requires to have their CV revamped, I am willing to give a flat rate for everyone that is manageable, and we'll manage it. However, giving you different CVs may not help, because you're not applying for that role now, you see. So it needs to make sense on what I'm sharing, but I'll still give the sample. Can a family member, i.e. your brother, be a referee? Yes and no. Yes, in what aspect? Is he your mentor? No. If he's not your mentor, don't put him as a referee, because one way or the other, we'll find out as HR. We have a way. When you're writing your next of kin, you happen to just indicate that. That's how you get eliminated automatically in an interview. Brenda says, I have previously been told that employers want people who are currently employed. So what happens when I'm applying for a job whose requirement is not what I'm currently engaged in? Should I omit it and put what I last did that? Yes, I think you've just asked what I had indicated before. And remember this, we said you're eliminating an experience that is not required for this role. However, it doesn't mean you'll not require it in future. And also, Brenda, maybe I might need to emphasize, if you're going to do so, you would still mention the other experiences and the other experience. So this usually just goes after you've indicated your summary of work experience, and you put a small headline, other experience, which allows you to mention all those other things. And it doesn't limit you to miss out on the number of years experience. Remember, there are people who count, this person started working when. Then Anastasia is asking, can you help me a bit? Forum, how can I have a presentable CV? So as I mentioned, I'll share how you can, if you want the service of getting your CV revamped, I'll give a flat rate to everyone, and then we'll see how we can support you. Within 4 working days, anyone who will have put in will get their CV done, and also additional tips will be shared. Silas, I can see. Oh yeah, what is the flat rate? I'm getting there. I'm just finishing on the answers, don't worry. So a few things, what should be included under personal information, apart from phone and name. Always have your LinkedIn link. And now that's what I want us to get into. And two things. If your Twitter and your Instagram and your Facebook are all professional, or you can create new ones that are all professional, meaning you keep, and get me right when I'm saying professional, it is platforms that you keep talking about what you're doing currently in your position. And in that platform, it means that you are gaining a presence of being an expert in a particular field, or people are able to resonate with you, knowing they're able to connect with all aspects that they need. So if you're not able to come out clear on that, do not share any of your social media platforms. That is what I would suggest. So for instance, I'll tell you why do people put in their LinkedIn profile is because it's a professional platform. If I'm a photographer and I've posted my work in Facebook and also posted my work in Instagram, Tumblr, Pinterest, I would put all of that. However, if you don't have, or the rest are personal platforms, then you'd have to just stick with the LinkedIn profile. However, what has emerged, and this is something that is growing over trend, companies are asking for the social media platforms. They want to know you off work, they want to understand you and know the kind of personality you have. So my request would be, don't forget, the internet never forgets. So if you're going to share, you may as well post something ideal that works for you and in favor. If it doesn't, then you would need to figure out how do you avoid sharing your personal platforms. So yes, so somebody is asking, can you rate the manager from a company X as your referee who you have not interacted with him for a long time? The answer would be no, because they will never give a good positive feedback about you. That is what I believe. And secondly, I've just mentioned right now, it should really be important for you to figure out how do you get it right by getting a mentor, somebody who's going to build you up, be the person you can add in your CV, but most importantly, how do you get it right by ensuring that that person does not sabotage you? So if you have not been interacting with that person, biggest question mark would be this: why would I vouch for you and I don't know what you have been up to? So you see, there's a high probability for somebody to say, you know, yeah, they were an okay person, you know, they used to do their work and that's it. Okay, start interacting with the person you feel would be, as everybody says in the professional language, would be your sponsor, would be the one who pushes for you and your agenda at work in the right manner. Once you identify who that person is, then you keep a close connection with that person. Remember, it may not be the HR profession. It may be your direct line manager or an indirect line manager, meaning it may not be the person you report to. They may be in a different department, but they're able to attest the kind of work you do. So that would be really, really important. And then I'll be able to tell you another thing. When you're looking for referees, don't look for one today and then you're applying for a role tomorrow. You should start looking for one because you know, refer this person even in future. And then every month, always touch base and tell them about your progress. You've done a master's, indicate. You've done an undergraduate, indicate. You've done a professional course, indicate. You don't indicate, there's a high probability that your CV might be saying the truth. And then if they ask about your educational level, they're like, huyo mtu atakuanga amesoma. See, the last time he was there, he just has the experience. Yet you went and really upgraded yourself. So you really need to figure that part out on how you're able to win and ace it right. I will share the cost. Allow me just to run through the LinkedIn profile, which is quite easy. Doesn't have so much, and also it's automatically related to the CV. So it makes it easier for us to just run through, and then we'll be able to share, because I've seen quite a number of people asking for this. So we said we'll skip the breakout session, and then we will get to the LinkedIn profile. So I've picked the former CEO of LinkedIn for us to just use that as a profile check, and then for you to get it right and seeing all aspects of what usually we look at. So for instance, if I may ask, is there anyone willing to share their LinkedIn profile with us so that we can do a quick fact check as a guide? That will make it easier. If you feel confident that you have a good LinkedIn profile, kindly share the same, and then just share the same so that we're able to look at it, and then we are talking like for like. So as I look at this, we also look at your profile so that we're able to just ensure we get it right on the aspects we're discussing. Anyone wants to share? Anyone who wants to share? Okay, so I'll continue. So 2 aspects. When you're, okay, Joseph, please share your link. Makes it easier. If I start looking at like 5 or 4 Joseph, and then I'm not able to tell. So 2 things, always have a proper professional photo. Do not think about a quick or funny photo that you need to post. The most important would be that you would need to just get a white background, put your photo, and then move on. Why am I saying that? Because we are only looking at identifying you as a person. We're not looking at so many things. So any simple background that you can have, that would be okay. Thank you, Joseph. Let me just select that. And then I see how we can just share. So another aspect that would need to have, and get me right when I'm talking about LinkedIn, is your location. Anytime somebody goes to a LinkedIn page, the one thing that they just look at is where your location, especially when they're trying to figure out if you're the ideal person for a certain role that you have applied for. And then if you have indicated the wrong location, either sometimes Google will just automatically tell you that you're in the wrong location, or is this your preferred location? And then secondly, if you're open to other places of work in terms of location, LinkedIn profile allows you to select that. However, right now, your focus area is get it right on your photo, put your location. You don't need to put your home location, put where you stay. So if you're in the city, Nairobi, indicate. If you're not, indicate where you are. It makes things easier. Then there's the summary. You can borrow from what you have in your CV. And that's what I'm saying. It's an easier way to transfer some of these things, and then we're able to improve on it. Then another aspect, just stop whoever is trying to go, is experience. We've already spoken about the experience. You pick your experience from your CV and put it as it is in terms of the durations you've worked in the different places, if you've gotten promoted or not. And then another thing would be, if you have any pictures and videos, you would use them to connect to the different roles that you have been. So allow me to just check on Joseph's LinkedIn profile, and then be able to see how we're able to connect and understand if he has captured or has touched on every aspect. Now, remember, if it hasn't, it's just a learning progress. And we're not saying everything should be perfect, but a few things that you can get right, it's always important. So I've gotten it. I already have feedback in my mind, but allow me to share so that we are in the same page. So I'll give you feedback as it is. First, the link you shared doesn't make sense because this one is Keta, so it means you might need to look at your name. This is really not clear, but I'll use it. So for instance, Keta has no banner, so we can't communicate in terms of him being in what industry. Then he's carrying a sack, so it's really hard to tell what it is. The most important thing that is seen is the location, as we have spoken to, Kilifi, Kenya, Pwani University. Remember, somebody is able to click on your contact information. Always have your email there, have your number there, because somebody wants to give you a role or wants to reach out to you for something. They need to know how they should be able to reach out to you. Then secondly, another thing that we need to think about is this LinkedIn profile doesn't have any aspects of the few things that we've spoken about. The summary, the experience, it doesn't have, it just has education. So there you need to ask yourself, what went wrong? Is it that you're not interested in updating it, or how best can you get it right? So a few things, if you really want to stand out and scale out in your interviews, you would really need to have a proper LinkedIn profile. So I want to open for Brian before I get to the next page. I know so many people have posted their LinkedIn profiles. Remember, I may not be able to go through all of them, but what I'll do is I'll open only 3. Out of the 3, we should be able to get an idea of how it should look like and what aspects need to be there. So this one looks slightly better in terms of the photo. Allow me to share. So this has a photo that you can identify the person, meaning the person is looking straight. However, he's the brand ambassador at Nokia. He doesn't have a banner, meaning we're not able to communicate and know what he stands for or what aspects of his skills he wants to have shine. So it's really important that to come out. In terms of contact information, there's no email, there's no telephone number, so we can't reach out to this person. About I would say the about can be better than this. I purpose to elevate human resource through building products and services that place human beings at the core. It can be better. It's not bad, but it can always be better. In terms of activities, not so much, but I can see at least it's indicated he's a sales agent there. He used to be an intern, and the education sector is there. And I like the aspects of volunteer and experience being indicated, which is really important. And another aspect that I'm missing out on this would be a proper summary, a proper aspect of the different skills that you have. And also, if at all you had any projects that you did in school, you should be able to also indicate the projects. So what am I saying? When we go back to the presentation, it talks about use of photos, use of videos. There are things you've done, well, at school or at work. So you're the ambassador at the Nokia shop or whatever it is. Have indicated the different activities you've had at work and how are they being projected. Remember, the summary, the experience needs to really stand out. The picture and videos are just used as evidence. Evidence for maybe the future, it may not be seen important now, but for the future. Then another aspect in your LinkedIn profile that is important to emphasize would be your education. Indicate what is important. You don't need to indicate everything. You indicate what is important. Any aspect that really make you stand out, you put it. In your profile, LinkedIn allows you to be identified either with the place you went for school or the company or both. So you can say that you went to Chaka University and you're currently working in Nokia or Siemens Networks. So those two stand out and they really resonate well with recruiters when they're looking for a particular industry or particular company somebody has worked for. So that really needs to really stand out. Endorsements. Now, endorsements is not something I'm for, but it's always important to have endorsement. Why am I saying I'm not for it? Halfway through, endorsements are just a way of ticking. I'll just tick you're a good team player and all those things, but in reality, we're not connect to who really you are. And then recommendations. Now, recommendations is really important. Now, how would I say recommendations are really important? I always ask somebody if they're able to have their referee, their mentors, or people they've worked with in any of the places they have worked to write down their recommendations. It might be tailor-made, or it might be very generic, like Same thing, you pick and you copy paste. But the thing is first shows you had a good interaction with your teams where you're working. It shows you are connecting with them well, and they're able to bring out the best in you in terms of the aspects that they write. Now, LinkedIn allows you to either approve a recommendation given or reject it. So it just means I can decide to write someone a recommendation. You can decide to reject it. But another interesting aspect on this is you're able to ask everyone that you've worked with who is in LinkedIn to write for you the recommendation. When they want to, they will write, and then it will appear automatically in your profile. Your interest groups are important. I have found that they connect you with the right networks, but they also help people understand you more in regards to the kind of person you are. So if your interest is in a profit organization, or you want to join a board meet, or you want to volunteer, people will resonate and connect with that. And with that, somebody will be able to say, okay, this is the kind of person I'm looking for. Now, Jacqueline, Benson, Mary, I may not be able to open yours, but allow me to open for Silas. And also, Odhiambo, I'll open the same. And then we just do a quick review. Somebody is asking, would it be possible to share this presentation after the meeting? We had mentioned, yes, we are recording. You'll be able to get this on YouTube. You'll also be able to get it on your email. As long as you're registered with us, there is no problem you'll be able to get. So it's just upon you to ensure that after this session, it should be by tomorrow, you'll be able to get a whole summary of this. Another request I might ask is if there's a particular interest you have for this, let me just allow somebody to join. If you have a particular interest in any area in terms of improving, you can always reach out by sending an email from the presentation, and then we'll be able to get back to you on it. Let me open this LinkedIn profile as I open the rest. The last link I was given wasn't correct, so let me just open a different one. So I'll open Silas, and then I'll just try and finish the presentation, and then allow anyone who has any questions to ask. In terms of the cost, I'll also share the same. Silas also kept asking, so I'll also share the same, and then we'll be able to close in the next 15 minutes or less. So another thing I may request when you're in LinkedIn, try and see how you're able to follow the right people. You can connect with us. We always share tips on LinkedIn or on how you're able to post. So I've opened for Silas. Allow me to share and give my pointers. Again, quick feedback. The photo is good. There's always something missing in these profiles, which is the banner. It has become now a trend which needs to improve. I like the fact that it reflects Kenyatta University. I will look for your contacts to see if anyone can reach you. Yes. However, we need to know your email and we need to know your number, because if somebody is to connect with you, that needs to come out very clearly. I have just seen a role for business development specialist. Now, how am I going to send it to you, Silas? You know, ask yourself that when you're upgrading your LinkedIn profile. There are things that need to be really particular. I can see you're busy because I can see the activities reflect automatically. And I can see you are currently working in Pekatoni, in Kenya Women Trust Fund, which is good, and you have been updating most of it. However, there's a way you are able to put for the Kenya Women Trust Fund, if they are the same year, you need to have them together. They cannot be separate. Even if this was an internship in between, that can always be put separate. Education, you've indicated well. The skill endorsement, you see, that one is okay. Accomplishments, that is very good. It's really important to always have what you've accomplished in LinkedIn, because it connects you and it simplifies when somebody wants to review and confirm. So actually, I can say, Silas, your LinkedIn profile is like, I would give it a 60. out of 100, because the few things that need to be improved are very few, and it's easy to just wrap it up. I would say even within 30 or so minutes. I've seen more requests on the presentation. That one we've already discussed. To get a video and also a summary of the presentation you'll be able to get. So let me stop sharing more LinkedIn profiles so that we can go back to do a summary. Joseph is saying was thrown due to the network issues. Unfortunately, I missed out on my feedback. Joseph. Now I have to look for your meeting. Okay, that's fine. I'll just check for Joseph because he claims he wants his feedback from what I checked. But just to give you a highlight as to why the LinkedIn profile is really important. One, it can automatically get your job. Somebody will look at it the same way they look at your CV because it's a live document. But most importantly, they will look at it knowing very well that this is the kind of work, or Joseph had not opened yours, so it has opened now. We'll go through it. This is the kind of person they're looking for, and it will be important. So as I mentioned, all the LinkedIn profiles I've opened don't have a banner. I'll open mine, and you'll be able to also get a look and feel of the difference of what is here and what you're looking at. Joseph, I like the fact that yours covers the two things I mentioned, where you work and where you've studied. So that's Kesho, Kenya, you're working, and you've studied in JKUAT. However, you need to emphasize what you've studied in JKUAT or at what level. That needs to come out very clear. Contact information. Let's see your contact information. Again, contact information is missing very critical things. Your email and your number is really, really important. Project officer, project coordinator. There's somebody who I know who have been looking for a project officer. It all depends on how people know or the kind of roles that are open. So it's always important for some of these things to be very clear. And when they're not clear, somebody's not able to reply to a role. I like the fact that you're using open to work. The banner is good. It's just sometimes it's not that good, but that's a story for a different day. Priska, please mute. Priska. So Joseph, yours is quite good. I can't complain. The fact that you have updated the different places you've worked, I can see the education section reflects well. I can see you have volunteer work and experience, and then the other bits that you have is your endorsement has been done, but we now need you to be able to have some feedback from people who have worked with you. It's important because you have some good experience that is there. So allow me to just do a quick one for me, and then we can close the LinkedIn profile. So let me get to the questions. If I get back, kindly go through mine. Oh, can go through so many, but we are running out of time. So this is mine. Now look at it this way. You want to emphasize on any particular thing, you use the banner. I always change that banner from time to time. I'll show you the previous banner that I was using. It's just slightly down. You can see clearly all the names, the services I offer, university I've gone to, currently I'm in, then the LinkedIn profile. This one doesn't give the person access to see more, but if you search yourself, you will see more, my email and contact details, because you're able to just send me an email directly. Then it shows what I provide in terms of services, which you're able to put. So it will reflect all that. And you can see there's somebody who has even given feedback on it, on the services that I provide. And then going back, you can see there's emphasis on HR, talent, and performance management, just as I started. And then there's a future aspect which no one had in theirs, which just clearly reflects on the different things. So I've been awarded for by people harm. I've had sessions on different months, so it reflects that. Then I had written an article. So this article, the banner in this article is what, this was my previous banner. So as I mentioned, I go changing, and it's important to have articles. So this is what I had. You can see there's consistency. There's a particular bit that keeps repeating over and over in any of the banners that I put. So it's important to have that. Then why do you put the feature section? Feature section is what you've already indicated or what is in your post, but you just come back and you make it more visible for people to see. And then as you go down, you get to see all the activities that you have, I mean, a book club, all those things. Anything I post in the different platforms, I'll be able to post all that. It will reflect everything. So you're able to go through the same way I've gone through yours, you're able to go through the licenses I have, the certifications, everything. It will show. Skills and endorsements, it will show. Recommendation, it will show. All that. So everything goes and reflects. Any awards, any projects, I indicate. So what am I saying? I'm not giving you a conversation where you are supposed to do something and I'm not doing it or you have not seen it work. No, what I'm saying is look at your LinkedIn profile as your live CV. Understand the target market that you want to reach out to. Once you identify and establish that, then you get to know what you're looking for. Now, final bit. When you get it right on your LinkedIn, then you will not necessarily have to worry much when you're looking for work. It makes things are made easier because if you're active, if you're responding to comments, you'll also see jobs that have been put in. So that is it from my end. And a few books that I feel it's always important to share that can help you in your career life are Sally Helsden, How Women Rise, Atomic Habits, the subtitle of Not Giving a Fuck, then there is Essentialism, then there's Winning, The Year of Yes, and my best of all, which I'm currently reading, which is The Mamba Mentality. And previously, I had just finished, or basically, we're finishing in 2 Saturdays, Atomic Habits. So, why am I telling you about the books? Most of the time, you'll always try and ask yourself, I'm being told to change my CV, I'm being told to study, I'm being told to network. You need to figure out how you network. And some of the times, you may find yourself networking either through different forums or different sessions. Halfway through the time, what you need to ask is, where do you want to see yourself in the next, let's say, 1 year, 2 years, or 3 years? Do you want to still work in the same company? If you still want to work in the same company, do you want to see yourself growing? But if you feel you want a change, then you might start thinking about changing your perspective into things. See what you can improve by either improving your LinkedIn profile, grow your network in LinkedIn. It is enormous, the things that you can do in LinkedIn and you can learn from. So it's really important. Then another bit is identify the right people who can be your connectors, because they will end up either being your mentors, they'll either be the people who grow you, and therefore, the most importantly, they will enable you to understand where you want to pivot yourself in your career to the next level. So that is it from my end. And if anyone has any question or would want to reach out, it would be really, really important to ask now. I'll also be posting the details for the CV review and also the LinkedIn review course. And anyone who wants to reach out, you can always reach out on the numbers I'll share. Thank you.
Thank you too.
Thank you.
Hi, Dorcas. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Eric, ask your question. I'll just
No, I don't have a question.
Yes.
I don't have a question. Actually, I wanted to, if there's no question, I close it with the vote of thanks.
Okay, fine, Eric, you can.
Is there any question?
Yes.
Okay, ask.
Hello. Yeah. Okay. Now I would like to find out from Dorcas, because I note that the information she has shared is very important, especially for this stage. How possible is it that she could be available, possibly for interviews, let's say on WhatsApp platforms, now that it's the platform that most people have moved to? Just wanted to find out from, so that apart from the Zoom meetings.
So I am available. You just need to give me your schedule and I see if I can fit it to what I have. Of course, there are days that are already fixed. I am okay being added to any group. I think I've posted a number. You're able to add it. It has WhatsApp. If you want an interview session in terms of me talking to a group in a WhatsApp group, that is fine. I'm able to do that. And it depends on the age. So you need to give me a brief so that I'm able to tailor make the session for you so that we achieve the set objectives. So that I just don't come and talk to just the team. But thank you for the offer. I really appreciate. Phyllis, I can see you're mentioning I joined late. However, I like the little part I have gotten to listen to. Most welcome. The recording will be shared. We will also share a summary of the presentation and a sample of 2 CVs. There was one educator and also fields that had been asked. So I'll share 2 so that we're able to use them as samples. Most welcome, Olivia. Yes. Anyone who has anything? So there's a question about referee before I just close this down and being supported by Eric. Let's say you want to put your former lecturer. Let's say he used to work at UN, but now has moved to another university. Let's say KU. Reference, will you quote his work at KU or UOM? You always put present, because when whoever talks to the person, they'll say, for instance, Peter, I'm calling you, I've been told you are a lecturer in, so it's usually important. But because he's a lecturer, either or works, but please, as I mentioned, if you're going to put that lecturer, you may as well be playing, I don't know, is it golf or basketball with them? Because they need to know you in person. If they don't know you in person, how is it going to benefit you? You'd rather build a network now, and you just need to connect with someone for even less than 6 months. And I'm sure they'll be willing to have you put them on their resume as long as they can see your work and vouch for it. Yes, I think that's it. Thank you, Tabitha. Yes, we'll add you in. There's a WhatsApp group. That's not my WhatsApp, but you will be added in the WhatsApp group. Eric will pick that, and we'll make sure that you get updated when we're having other sessions. Thank you, everyone. Eric, you can continue. I think I'm done on my end.
Thank you very much, Dorcas. I think for everyone who's here, you appreciate that Dorcas is such a good facilitator, and you got this information for free. There are a lot of people who pay to get this information, especially on LinkedIn. Personally, soon I'm going to be an importer of some products just because I updated my LinkedIn profile and somebody saw and we started talking. So take LinkedIn seriously. You'd rather mess up with your CV, but on your LinkedIn profile, ensure it's A1, because people look at the LinkedIn profile and start talking to you. There are some people that don't post job adverts. They just go to LinkedIn and try and see whether they can headhunt people from there. Then from there is when they now ask you for your CV after looking at your LinkedIn profile. So it's very, very important. And that. So thank you for everyone who joined. Actually, through a program that we are with Rose, I think Rose is Dorcas' colleague. I had asked Rose we do such a session, and she told me Dorcas will facilitate it. And she just told me now that she's under the weather, and we are praying for her quick recovery. Next time, Rose will also be there. So thank you very much, Dorcas. Thank you very much, everyone. We hope to continue with these sessions more and more. The 4BM has a network of 30,000 people who are interested in such kind of products. So those ones who are here, kindly go and tell them whatever they miss, so that when you organize this session next time, we have 1,000+ people attending. Thank you very much. So I think we can close.
Yes, we can
Thank
close.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you. We'll contact you in
Yes,
person.
yes, for sure. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so much.
everyone. Enjoy your evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Ni saa ngapi? Tulikuwa na meeting. Yaani siku zingine niko. So nilikuwa na
Elizabeth
meeting
iko koko haujatoka meeting.